I see some folks are starting to trickle in, so welcome, and we'll go ahead and give folks a couple minutes to grab their lunches and join us today. Looks like we have people still trickling in, so we'll go ahead and just give it another minute or so. But thank you for joining us. I think we're expecting just a few more people, so we'll just give it 30 seconds or so, and then we'll go ahead and jump in. So thanks everyone for your patience, and we're happy to have you today. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you everyone again for joining us today. We're really excited to talk to you about the Clean Energy Homes program. And before we get started, I just want to go over a couple virtual housekeeping items. First and foremost, the webinar is being recorded. So we will be able to share out a recording of the webinar once we have finished up, and everyone who has registered will receive that link with the recording. And secondly, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to throw them into the chat, and we can either address them as they come up as appropriate, or we do have time allotted at the end of the presentation to go over your questions as well. So feel free to throw those in as they come up. And let's go ahead to the next slide and introduce our speakers today. All right, my name is Erin McGregor. I am a project manager with TRC. I've been with TRC for 2 years now, and I've been in the incentive program space for the last 5 years or so. And today I'll be going over the Clean Energy Homes program, and specifically the eligibility requirements and how you will apply for the program. And I also have my colleague David on the phone. David, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. My name is David Aviña. I'm a program manager over at AEA. I'm working with this Clean Energy Homes new construction program, in addition to other new construction programs for AEA. And I've been working with the residential multifamily space for a couple years now. So yeah, please feel free to reach out.
Great, thank you, David. And on the next slide here, we have our agenda of what we'll be covering today. I'll kick us off with the program overview to tell you more about the Clean Energy Homes program, who our team is, the purpose of the program, and the eligibility requirements. And then I'll hand it off to David, and he's going to go into some more detail on the design incentive offering, what those incentives look like, and what the process is. And then he's also going to tell us about technical assistance and what that looks like in this program, and some examples of what our technical assistance team can help your projects out with. And then we'll wrap up with how to apply for the program. And then, as I mentioned before, we do have the opportunity to ask questions at the end. So once again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll address them in the Q&A. So to get us started, you've heard that I'm from TRC and David's from AEA. So let's talk about the Clean Energy Homes team and its players. So this is a Southern California Edison or SCE program with oversight from the CPUC or the California Public Utilities Commission. And then AEA and TRC are the implementers of the program. So you might hear from TRC and AEA as you go throughout your application process, but we work as a cohesive unit, and we are all available to support your project going through the program. And now that you've heard a little bit about us and how we fit into things, we'd like to hear a little bit about you and understand what your experience is with all electric before we dive into our content. So we're going to go ahead and launch a poll, and we would appreciate your participation to better understand your experience with all electric projects and maybe how we can support you in going all electric. So Brooke, let's go ahead and launch the first poll question. Perfect. And if you can take a moment to tell us about your experience, we would greatly appreciate it. It ranges from never being part of an all-electric project to being part of 5 or more all-electric projects. So we understand that people are at different phases of implementing all-electric. Some of us are new adopters and trying to do this for the first time, and some of us are pros. We've been doing this for a while. We're familiar with the process. I see a couple answers have come in. Let's go ahead and get those answers in. We'll just give it 10 more seconds and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, last chance. And Brooke, I think we can go ahead and close the poll. And it looks like a lot of us have all electric experience, which is really great to hear. We're excited that this is something you're familiar with. And I think when David talks about technical assistance, you'll be really interested to hear in how our team can help you with future all electric projects and maybe some emerging technologies and things like that that our team has experience in that could be of interest to you. For those of us that are not as familiar with all electric, or maybe want to understand more about the intent of the program, we do have a video that we have recently put together and that we want to highlight in this webinar to talk a little bit more about why the state is going this way and why the program incentivizes these buildings. So we're going to go ahead and play the video, and then we'll jump into some program content.
Building all-electric new construction. Going all-electric refers to when a building exclusively uses electricity as its source of power for equipment and appliances. This means that cooking, water heating, and space heating all use electricity through technologies such as induction and heat pumps. All-electric housing has many benefits for owners, residents, and the environment. Building all electric at the point of new construction can lower construction costs, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, as well as benefit the occupants. California developers can save an average of $3,300 per unit by avoiding gas piping and infrastructure in multifamily properties. All-electric multifamily homes have been projected to achieve between 25 to 46% in greenhouse gas savings when compared to natural gas-fueled properties. The appliances within all-electric buildings are a major factor in reducing harmful emissions. Choosing air source heat pumps over gas furnaces can reduce appliance lifetime emissions by 93%. And choosing heat pump water heaters over gas water heaters can reduce appliance lifetime emissions by 91%. Residents living in affordable all-electric multifamily properties can also reap the benefits, including improved air quality, Induction stoves are free of harmful pollutants released by gas stoves, improving the indoor air quality in units. And greater comfort and safety. Heat pump space heaters provide both efficient heating and cooling, ensuring households have access to comfortable temperatures even in extreme heat events. Ready to access the benefits of going all electric? Clean Energy Homes can help you build sustainable, affordable housing. Visit cleanenergyhomes.com to learn more.
Great. Thanks for letting us share that video with you. Again, that's something that the program has recently put together as a resource, and I think it provides some good context before we jump into more program specifics as to what the program is looking to achieve. But let's go ahead and jump into the overview. Next slide, please. Thank you. So to provide a bit of an overview for Clean Energy Homes, the program is intended to provide guidance and incentives for developing all-electric affordable housing. So this program is specific to our affordable housing sector and is also specific to multifamily projects. The program covers your projects all the way from design to completion. So you'll see that we have offerings that help you all the way through the process and can provide incentives at different phases of your project. So when we look at the program offerings on the next slide, we can see that we have 3 different offerings that are available in the program. We have technical assistance and the design incentive, which David's going to tell us more about today. And we also have a resident education incentive. But the resident education incentive, we are going to have another webinar on this fall, so stay tuned for that. This incentive is really unique. It is intended to provide education events and education opportunities to residents for them to learn about what all electric means, about the technologies in their unit, and to better understand the design choices that went into building their home. So it's a really unique offering to this program. And I will say that these are laid out in a linear fashion here, but you can participate in one or all 3 of these. If you just have a technical assistance question, maybe you need some help with energy modeling or have a equipment comparison question, we're happy to help you with just that. If you are looking to maximize incentives, you can go through design incentives and resident education. It's kind of a plug and play depending on where or how far along your project is. And David's going to tell us a little bit more about those timelines in his slides. So when we're talking about incentive availability, there's a couple things to keep in mind. The first is that incentive funding is available through 2026 or until funds are depleted. And incentives are reserved on a first come, first served basis. So keeping those 2 points in mind, we would encourage you to engage our team as early as you can in your process to make sure that you're getting all the funds that you could be eligible for and that there is still funding available for your project. So keep those timelines in mind as you are considering projects for this program. And for the technical assistance, we do not have any limits per project or per developer. We understand that some other programs have hourly limits as an example, and that's not something that we are currently implementing. So technical assistance is available upon request, and we'll talk a little bit about how to start that process with us as well. I also want to talk about the territory requirements for the program, since it is a pretty specific territory. And this is going to be for properties in SoCal Edison territory that are not served by one of the 4 gas IOUs, those being Southern California Gas, PG&E, SDG&E, and Southwest Gas. And that is because those territories are served by the statewide build program. So those projects still have a program to go to, but this project is meant to fill the territory that is not served by build. So you can see on the map on the right in yellow, that large section of territory towards the border. And then there's also some smaller pockets in the Los Angeles and Long Beach areas. And we do understand that this is a pretty specific territory. So we did put together a map tool where you can check your project's eligibility. So on the next slide, you can see we have this GIS tool on our website. So if you go to cleanenergyhomes.com and scroll down towards program eligibility, you'll see this GIS tool. And you can plug in your project address or street name, and it'll zoom in to your project area, and it'll show you if it's in an eligible territory in blue or a non-eligible territory for clean energy homes in gray. And as you zoom in, you'll start to see more pockets of blue, like I mentioned, along like the Long Beach area. So this is a great tool as an initial check, but of course, if you have any questions about eligibility, our team is more than happy to help you review and help you understand which program would be the best fit for you. Now that we understand the eligible territory, let's talk a little bit more specifically about the building requirements. So for this program, we say that all electric new residential multifamily housing is eligible. So we'll break that down a little bit here. First and foremost, all electric. And what that means to us is that you cannot have any gas service lines installed in the building. And the only exclusion to this is if you have like a community fire pit or barbecue that is not connected. The gas wouldn't be connected to the envelope of the residential building. That's all right, but space heating, water heating, cooking should be all electric. When we say new residential housing, this could be a new build that has never been occupied for any purpose, or it can be an existing building that has gone through some sort of rehab or repurpose. So we have some examples here of what that can mean, either going through a significant amount of demo, or if it's being repurposed from a purpose that was not originally residential. So if you have an office building or a church, as an example, being converted to housing, that would be eligible. And I also want to call out, we do have a program handbook on our website that goes into more detail on all of these eligibility requirements. If you ever want to reference that, it's on our resources page on our website. And of course, our team can always help you determine which of these eligibility points you're qualifying under. And when we are talking about multifamily housing for this program, we define that as a property with 5 or more units. So this could be an apartment building, a dorm, assisted living facilities, and so on, as long as it has 5 or more residential units. And I mentioned this on a previous slide, but this is an affordable housing program. So when we are looking to prove affordability, we are looking for either a regulatory agreement, a deed restriction, or a restrictive covenant, either already recorded or anticipated. So we understand that you may be at different points of securing funding and finalizing those affordability restrictions as you're interacting with our team. We just ask that we have the documentation prior to incentive payout. So you can provide a funding commitment letter from a lender that has the anticipated restrictions. And then when it's time for incentive payout, we would ask for the finalized version of that documentation. All right. And that covers our eligibility requirements at a high level for what types of buildings and territory would apply. I just want to wrap up with a couple of reasons to participate in the program before I hand it off to David to talk more about the design incentive and the technical assistance. So first and foremost, reducing costs and barriers to building all-electric affordable homes. We heard it in the video, but building all-electric is cheaper than building a mixed-fuel property when we consider the avoided gas infrastructure. And this program makes it even more enticing by offering incentives that are staged out throughout your project, including front-end design incentives. Secondly, bringing environmental equity to vulnerable populations. So these buildings are going to have lower utilities for affordable housing for these tenants that need it. We're going to have improved air quality for a already vulnerable population. And we're providing an opportunity for community engagement. So all these contribute to more sustainable, equitable communities. You also have the opportunity to educate residents on the benefits of all-electric buildings and tell them about the technologies in their unit, how to use them, how to further their savings, and to get them excited about their new homes, where they're living, and the opportunities available to them to contribute to sustainability. And finally, supporting California's greenhouse gas reduction goals. We all know the state has some big goals when it comes to GHG reductions, and the building sector is going to play a large piece in that. So we're all contributing to that goal, and these programs are a great opportunity to secure funding while also contributing to these goals. So now I'm going to hand it over to David, who's going to tell us more about the design incentives.
All right. Thank you, Erin. So I'm going to talk through a little bit more about the design incentive offering and then get into a bit more detail on what you can expect from us as a program. I do want to start by describing the design incentive offering as opposed to the resident education offering as kind of two pieces that sandwich the larger construction timeline and period. So the design incentive offering is before construction. So, we're helping you design this all-electric building as best as you can and help give you the more standards of practice and best recommendations that we can to build the best all-electric building that you can build, right? So again, the design incentive offering is sort of that, pre-construction incentive offering technical assistance support, and the resident education offering is sort of post-construction after you get the certificate of occupancy, and you can start getting some of that incentive dollars and engaging with the residents at that point. So just wanted to give that wider context and then dial into specifically this design incentive offering. So let's go to the next slide. All right. Clean Energy Homes offers up to $50,000 as a design incentive to assist developers and project teams in the developmental stage with the design of all-electric buildings. The incentives support the administrative costs associated with assessing and assessing the inclusion of electrification technologies, including but not limited to energy efficiency, demand response measures, electric battery storage, and more. Projects currently in design and prior to submitting permit are eligible for this incentive. So currently designed prior to submitting for permit, and progress payments are made in two payments. So they're made at 50% of the total incentive reserve when your project meets permit approval and foundation for or completed utility work. And also, as a heads up, we've simplified the larger incentive structure and calculated the incentives at a per bedroom rate by climate zone. And you can reference the table above here for your potential incentive. And if you don't know what your climate zone is, then please reach out to us and we could help you find that out. You could go onto the GIS tool on the website itself to get a better idea of kind of where you would lie for that larger incentive structure. All right, next slide, please. So the goals for the design incentive, as mentioned, is to assist developers and project teams in the developmental stage and provide technical support, feedback, and recommendations of best practices for all-electric building design. So again, to be eligible for the design incentives, projects must apply for assistance and incentives prior to submitting a building permit, meet or exceed eligibility criteria mentioned by Aaron, or meet efficiency thresholds when applicable, and engage in a minimum of 2 design reviews with the program prior to the building permit submission. I will note here that a developer can receive design assistance from Clean Energy Homes independent of receiving the actual design incentives, right? So there's a couple things happening here. You want to make sure to uh, participate in Clean Energy Homes at an early enough stage in your design process, so that way we can help participate in the design review and conduct 2 of those reviews and give recommendations before the project actually submits for permit. And this is also that way we could best impact the design of the project as much as possible, and you can get those best recommendations and standards of practice before you have a more firm, locked in permit submitted to whatever jurisdiction you're submitting it to. Right. So again, design incentive is sort of that pre-construction design phase incentive offering. Next slide. And for the design incentives, an all-electric building design with no gas hookups is a required minimum. The project must meet minimum code compliant efficiencies for space conditioning and water heating where the standards are applicable. And for this table, I will clarify that although the package terminal heat pumps are not included on the table, they are still allowed to be used in this program. So must meet code, and there is a couple of efficiency requirements that you must meet for the end use energy technology. Any questions there? Again, please feel free to put it in the chat or also reach out to us independently. But let's go to the next slide, which I think is a poll here. So I'd like to hear a little bit more from you all. What is the biggest challenge you have experienced? Since we have a couple experts here in the room, what is the biggest challenge you have experienced or anticipate in building an all-electric building? So if I could have the poll launched, we get a couple more answers and get some more information from you all. All right, poll is up. Some of the challenges may include meeting Title 24 compliance. Maybe it's economics, the cost differences, design team and experience with electric technologies, or is it just resident and property staff inexperience with those technologies? All right, getting a good, diverse, full of answers. Thank you. We'll give it a couple more seconds here, 10 more seconds. All right. So we're good to go. It sounds like there's some inexperience and also some inexperience with both project team, but also the property staff on site and the residents themselves. Uh, so again, Clean Energy Homes is a perfect program to participate in. Not only do we help that front end um, technical assistance support for the design team themselves, but also on the back end after construction, when the residents are ready to come in, when the property staff is ready to start doing the operations and maintenance. We could go ahead and help you out with supporting the education of the residents themselves and also the building property staff. So let's go into the next slide and talk a little bit more detail on specifically technical assistance and what you can expect from us in Clean Energy Homes. So within the design incentive offering, we offer technical assistance in a couple different ways. So as discussed, technical assistance design is available for both applicants and participants. So those pursuing just technical assistance or those also pursuing technical assistance and the incentive. So whether you decide to pursue one or the other, you can receive general technical assistance, which is non-project specific, or you could also receive project specific support, or you could also receive application support. If you need a little bit of help going through the pipeline, filling out the forms, um, participating in the program, we also have that kind of support for you as well. So across the board, we're here to help you out um, and give you some more information and yeah, get some incentive flowing, some dollars flowing. So let's give a little bit more detail on the actual technical assistance. Next, perfect. Thank you. So owners, developers, architects, design engineers, and contractors for new all-electric affordable housing have access to no cost consultation assistance and education, right? So as I mentioned, for incentive recipients, we can work with you on a specific project through 2 required design reviews. So if you are pursuing the incentive itself, you are required to go through the design reviews prior to submitting for permit. So the earlier you get with us, the better. Or you could just pursue the design reviews themselves. And if you don't decide to go through the incentive, that also works. So on the jumping down to the actual last paragraph here, for non-project specific TA or general technical assistance, we do provide education for your organization on all electric best practices across all building systems and inform your standard of practice for all electric buildings. And you could receive the design review without necessarily needing to apply for incentives. So uh, design reviews are on the table for you all as needed, as you'd like to receive them. We highly encourage you to do that because there may be some information that can light that LED light bulb in your head that helps transition your building to be a little bit more all electric, a little bit more efficient, and so on. Um, and again, post-construction, we can help train your building operations staff on how to operate and maintain all electric mechanical systems, right? So on the next slide, actually, we could go through the myriad of experience that AEA has with different building mechanical systems and equipment, including, not limited to, I would say, heating and cooling equipment selection and options analysis, heat pump water heating systems best practices, high performance and low energy ventilation systems, energy storage systems, solar PV, and virtual net metering assistance, building envelope performance improvement, occupant comfort, health, and safety impacts of energy systems, efficient operations and maintenance of all electric systems, and layering of incentives between new construction programs, right? So on your design review itself, you have this expertise sort of being poured into reviewing your plan set and giving our best recommendations and our observations of, what kind of changes and updates you can make to the current plan set. And on the first design review, we'll talk through kind of what we can change, what may be best shift and dialed in and refined to maybe make the building a little bit more sharper and build it a little bit more efficiently. On the second design review, what we'd likely do is sort of talk to you about the challenges about implementing those recommendations, the economics of what impacts you may had on your decisions to whether to implement those decisions or not, recommendations or not. So those 2 design reviews do feed into each other and sort of help give you a best picture of, what works for you in this building, in this particular design, and what may work in the future if you decide to take this design into another project. Maybe you could consider those recommendations in the future as well. So I've talked a little bit about, or I've talked to you about the design reviews, but what do they actually look like? So if on the next slide, we have a little snippet of an example of what this would look like for you. Uh, so we do break down your information and all the different technology types that you have on the plan set that we've reviewed, and just give you some recommendations and some notes on those specific uh, technology types. We recommend you get a blower door testing. You get some provide fresh air to supply to all bedrooms and living spaces through um, different means, whether passive or mechanical, right? So you want to make sure to review this design review report when you talk to us, and we'll also set up a meeting with you all to go through this report. And this report is for you to take home and implement recommendations as you wish. So to the next slide, we have another example of sort of our TA offering, which is best practices, training, and presentations. We have a myriad of presentations and again, expertise for all electric design and buildings. So whether it's energy storage systems, central heat pump water heaters, package terminal heat pumps, you name it, we have expertise in a myriad of different mechanical systems. And so you come to us, we help give your organization as a whole a presentation on what kind of technologies make sense, what's happening in the market, and what maybe works best for your projects, for your team, and help kind of illuminate some more aspects of all electric building design, right? So with all that, we have a lot of services and knowledge to share. So please, come to us, reach out to us, and I'll hand it actually back to Aaron to go over how do you actually apply to clean energy homes.
Great, thank you, David. And yeah, we hope that after David's talked about some of the offerings in more detail, this is maybe spurring some ideas in your head or maybe some questions that you'd like to ask our team. So let's go ahead and jump in how you would start the application process. So the first slide that we have here is kind of a participant roadmap of what you'll go through to receive the incentives. And I'll talk a little bit more about first steps on this next slide, but we'll start with an interest form online on our website, and that would spur our team to reach out for an intake call to better understand what assistance you're looking for and to set up next steps. And then if your project is pre-permit, we would go ahead and move to design assistance on the left-hand side there. And as David mentioned, that would require 2 design reviews, and then you'd be able to request incentives at the time the building permit is approved and once foundation is complete. Or if your project is coming in post-permit and you're just interested in the resident education incentive, we would jump to the right-hand side of the table there, and we would review what resident education activities you're interested in doing on your property and submit that incentive request form for those incentives. Or of course, if you are interested in both, you would go through the whole process from design all the way to completion in resident education. So on this next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about those first 2 steps and what it's like to get started with our team. So first and foremost, we've mentioned it, I think, a couple times, but we do have an online interest form. So on the Clean Energy Homes website, you'll see an interest form, and it's just a very brief form to understand who's contacting us and what you would like to learn. And we will follow up with you once that form is submitted, and we'll talk about technical assistance again, recommendations, what incentive opportunities are available depending on where your project is when it comes to us. And we'll also provide kind of some timelines that are specific to your project and schedule those design reviews if that's applicable for you. And we can start, requesting plans for those design reviews and to get us started. So we would encourage you to check out our website and submit an interest form. We'd be really excited to talk to you and to learn more about your projects, maybe your challenges with building all electric, so we can get you on the right foot and get you as much money as you're eligible for. And I think on this next slide, yep. We also wanted to note that we do understand that there are a lot of incentive programs floating around right now, and there may be opportunities to layer between incentive programs. So if there are programs with different funding sources, or if they fund different parts of the project, we may be able to layer those incentives. And this is something that our team has a lot of experience with. A lot of us support multiple residential new construction programs. So we'd be happy to help you figure out what other programs could maybe layer incentives and help you kind of understand that big picture of what's available to you. So this is part of our technical assistance and something our team is well versed in and happy to help you with. But I think that wraps up our content today. As a reminder, our website has a myriad of resources for you, including that initial interest form. It has a FAQ. It also has our program handbook. So we'd recommend checking that out as an initial resource and reviewing it. And of course, we're happy to help too. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and throw them in the chat. I know we have some time for your Q&A here. And I do see a question, so I'll go ahead and take this one. This person asks, what are the documentation requirements for application and payment? This is a good question. So once you are ready to start with the design incentive, we would ask for your plan set and your affordability documentation or anticipation of the affordability documentation. And when you are ready for payment, we would ask for your W-9 so we know what entity the check is being sent to, and then that copy of your permit and certificate of compliance. Thank you for the question. And if there's any more questions, we are happy to take them. And if anything comes up post-webinar, we do have our email here. If you want to reach out that way, we're happy to address your questions. I'm not seeing any questions coming in, but I'll just give it a minute or so. But we appreciate you joining us today, and we hope that some projects are coming to mind, or you have some questions coming to mind for us. And I do not see any questions. So I think we'll go ahead and end it there. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. We will be sending out the recording of the webinar, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Great. Thank you, everybody.